Put the exact same tough cut of meat into two separate pots, side by side on the exact same stovetop. One is an ordinary pot with a loose lid sitting loosely on top. The other is sealed completely shut with a small valve mounted on top of it. 3 hours later, the meat in the open pot is only just starting to soften up. The meat in the sealed pot was already tender an hour ago. Same heat, stove, and same exact cut of meat from the same package. So what is that sealed pot actually doing differently in there? It's tempting to picture pressure as some kind of physical force in there, squeezing down hard on the meat until it finally gives up and goes tender on its own. That's not remotely what's actually happening inside that pot. Let's get into it right here on Small Things. 100 degrees was never a ceiling. Most people know water boils at exactly 100 degrees Celsius, 212 Fahrenheit, without giving it a second thought. That number feels like a fixed law of nature, carved in stone, somewhere permanent. It really isn't. Water boils whenever its internal pressure manages to match whatever pressure is pushing steadily down on it from outside, and change that outside pressure even slightly, and the boiling point moves right along with it in either direction. Seal water inside a pot instead, trap the steam it naturally produces, and the exact opposite happens. The pressure above the water climbs, and water needs to get considerably hotter before it can boil at all, no matter how badly it wants to. That's the entire secret quietly sitting inside a pressure cooker. The man who was trying to soften bones. None of this started with anyone trying to cook dinner faster at all. It started with someone trying to solve a completely different, much stranger problem. In 1679, a French physicist named Denis Papin was working quietly in London, experimenting with sealed vessels and steam. Papin wasn't in a kitchen. He was trying to break down bones instead, softening them under pressure so they'd grind more easily into meal. He built a heavy sealed pot with a tightly fitted lid clamped down over it, and when he trapped steam inside it and let the pressure slowly build, something happened that he hadn't specifically set out to find. The bones softened far faster than they ever had in any open pot before. Papin had accidentally stumbled onto exactly the same underlying principle a modern pressure cooker still quietly relies on today, more than 3 centuries before anyone properly understood boiling points and pressure the way scientists do now. He called his device a steam digester, and he demonstrated it publicly to the Royal Society in London in 1679, reportedly cooking an entire meal with it in front of them as a kind of proof. The device had one more feature worth remembering, one that mattered far more than cooking speed. Early versions of Papin's sealed pot had an alarming habit of exploding, so Papin invented something specifically to fix that problem, a pressure relief valve, a small weighted piston that lifted and released steam automatically once pressure climbed too high. That single small addition, quietly solving a safety problem centuries before ordinary household kitchens even existed, is essentially the very same valve sitting on top of every modern pressure cooker sold today. Papin's digester never became an ordinary kitchen appliance in his own lifetime, not even close. It stayed largely a curiosity, occasionally resurfacing in scientific circles over the next 2.5 centuries. The pot you'd actually recognize today as a genuine pressure cooker didn't arrive in ordinary American homes until 1939, when a company began selling a stovetop version built specifically for everyday kitchens rather than laboratories. What began as an obscure fix for a bone-softening problem in 17th century London eventually became one of the fastest, most efficient ways to cook dinner anywhere in the world. 20 degrees that change everything. In an open pot, steam has somewhere to go. It rises, escapes into your kitchen, and takes a share of the heat with it the moment it leaves. In a pressure cooker, it doesn't. There's nowhere for that steam to go, so it stays trapped directly above the water, building pressure the longer the pot stays sealed shut. Depending on the specific model of cooker, that trapped pressure can push the water and steam inside all the way up to somewhere around 120 degrees Celsius, roughly 250 Fahrenheit, before anything actually starts to boil. 20 degrees doesn't sound like much on its own, especially compared to the difference between, say, a cold oven and a hot one. But that small gap doesn't just make the pot a little hotter overall. It changes how fast heat actually moves into whatever food happens to be sitting inside it. Steam turns out to be remarkably good at transferring heat quickly, releasing a real burst of energy the instant it touches something cooler and condenses back into liquid water. Surround food with steam at 120 degrees instead of 100, and every single one of the chemical changes cooking actually depends on speeds up quite considerably, all at once, together. Collagen shows this off better than almost anything else in the kitchen. It's the tough, stringy protein running all through cheap cuts of meat, the exact reason a brisket needs hours of low, slow cooking before it finally falls apart on a fork. Heat and moisture slowly break collagen down into gelatin over time, and gelatin is what actually makes meat feel tender instead of chewy and tough. That same breakdown happens at any temperature above roughly boiling, but it happens dramatically, noticeably faster at 120 degrees than it ever does at 100. A brisket that needs a full 4 hours at a bare simmer can finish in well under an hour inside a sealed pot, not because anything physically squeezed it, but simply because it spent that entire hour genuinely hotter than an open pot could ever manage to get it. Not a squeeze, not a runaway. It's tempting to assume the pressure inside the cooker must be squeezing more moisture into the meat itself, the way marinating something under weight might work. That's not really the mechanism either, and it's a genuinely easy mistake to make given the name printed right there on the appliance. The moisture already sitting in the meat and surrounding it isn't being forced anywhere new at all. What's actually changing is simply how hot that moisture is allowed to get before it turns to steam, and every chemical reaction cooking depends on runs faster the hotter its surroundings actually are, regardless of whether anything is technically being pressed into anything else. It's also fair to wonder why the pressure inside doesn't just keep climbing indefinitely until something eventually fails. It absolutely would if nothing at all stopped it from doing so. That's exactly why every single pressure cooker ever built, going all the way back to Papin's original weighted safety valve, includes some deliberate way to release pressure once it reaches a preset limit. Modern cookers use a spring-loaded valve or an electronic sensor that automatically vents excess steam, holding the pressure at a steady, predictable level instead of letting it climb indefinitely toward disaster. The cooking temperature stays capped at that same roughly 120 degrees for the entire cook, not because the pot simply runs out of steam to trap, but because the valve is deliberately letting some of it escape the very moment it needs to. Where the same rule shows up. A restaurant kitchen runs dried beans through a commercial pressure cooker before the lunch rush on a busy Tuesday. A batch that would normally need an overnight soak, plus 2 hours on the stove, finished from completely dry in under 30 minutes, freeing up a burner the line cook badly needed for something else entirely that same morning. A hiker boiling water carefully at a high mountain campsite one cold, windy evening, stove hissing softly beside the tent, watches it bubble noticeably well before it ever actually feels properly hot to the touch. the noticeably thinner mountain air overhead letting it boil at a lower temperature than it ever would back down at sea level. The commercial canning line runs sealed glass jars steadily through a large, humming industrial pressure cooker for a precisely set number of minutes on a wall-mounted timer, workers checking each passing batch carefully by hand, relying on that same elevated temperature to destroy bacteria that would easily survive ordinary boiling water entirely on its own without any trouble at all. A cook checks the digital readout on a modern electric pressure cooker sitting quietly on the kitchen counter after a long, tiring dinner, half paying attention while scrolling idly on her phone, watching the pressure climb steadily and automatically toward its programmed limit before the appliance finally settles into a steady, quiet hiss for the rest of the entire cooking cycle ahead. Rewriting the rule, not breaking it. A pressure cooker, in the end, was never simply trapping extra heat inside itself or pressing down harder on whatever happened to sit inside it. It was quietly changing the actual conditions under which water is even allowed to boil in the first place. Trap the steam, raise the pressure, and water quietly agrees to wait longer before it finally turns to gas, climbing to a temperature an open pot could never reach, no matter how high that flame gets turned up underneath it. That single 20-degree difference is the entire trick, start to finish, hiding inside an ordinary-looking pot on an ordinary stove. Not a stronger force acting directly on the food, but a rewritten rule about how hot water is even allowed to get before it boils at all. If this changed the way you look at that hissing pot sitting on your stove the next time you actually use one, let us know in the comments below what you want us to explore next in a future video about kitchen science. We might make it our next episode. Thanks for watching. History often hides in the smallest details.